Good day, everyone. My name is Vanessa Santos, and I'm a PhD fellow in Cultural and Creative Tourism at the Division of Geography and Tourism in KU Leuven, Belgium. And I will now present a short communication on indigenous plant-based handicrafts in the context of a creative tourism project in Portugal. I structured the presentation to start by providing the context and research problem of this study, go through the objectives, and introduce the methods I used. Then I will report the results and the limitations and will close with the conclusions. This research is in the context of the CREATOUR project, Creative Tourism Destination Development in small cities and rural areas in Portugal. I was part of the CREATOUR team during 2019 and in October during a post-conference activity of the third CREATOUR International Conference on Creative Tourism Dynamics, connecting travelers, communities, cultures and places. I participated in the activity Tour and Experience, organized by Lolé Creative, and here I asked one of the artisans more information about the palm, to which she replied that it comes ready to be used from Spain. This prompted my curiosity and has raised the research problem of this study, to learn more on the origins and life cycle of the native plants used for handicrafts in Portugal. Here, it's important to mention that this curiosity is a reflective analysis coming from my background as a craftswoman. I focused my work around the concept of ecological design. Since my beginning as a creative practitioner, I often questioned the sustainability of the materials I used and trying to utilize as much waste as I could through reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products. I stopped my craft work at some point when I was living in Denmark and realized Danish burn their waste to make energy to heat up their houses. So I felt that my craft work at that time lost its purpose and I stopped producing, as I had the impression I was producing new forms of trash. Sustainable consumption and production is about doing more and better with less. It is also about decoupling economic growth from environmental degradation, increasing resource efficiency, and promoting sustainable lifestyles. However, the term sustainable production has an oxymoronic base, which poses huge challenges in the context of handicrafts, in the sense that sustainable implies some form of limits, while the term production emphasizes the making of articles on a large scale, normally using machinery. For instance, one of the biggest challenges that Richards identified for craft producers when first delving into the roots of creative tourism concept was distinguishing their high-value handmade products from the cheaper mass-produced items. Adding to this, if the main concern within creative tourism keeps being mainly to be able to enhance the sales of craft products to tourists as it was in its beginning, then the crafts are at risk of being produced in an unsustainable manner. Until now, it seems that the main concerns have been on the skills and knowledge involved in handicrafts and on the market positioning of the handcrafts products and activities, rather than also including an analysis of the processes behind the life cycle and value chain of the endogenous resources used, and creating policies which might encourage the sustainable production and consumption of handmade products. Therefore, the first objective of this paper was to answer INVTUR's conference theme in exploring how creative tourism can effectively attain the Sustainable Development Goal 12, to ensure consumption and production patterns in the practice of creative tourism activities, as well as answering to what extent are local materials used in the operations of creative tourism activities. This is connected to CREATOUR's approach on creative tourism as a strategic area for mobilizing endogenous cultural resources, place and people, encouraging learning and interaction between visitors and local residents for local sustainable development, with initiatives that are envisioned, designed, and embedded locally. So the aim of this study was to learn on the possible challenges creative tourism activity providers from the CREATOUR project may encounter while trying to meet the Sustainable Development Goals propositions, and in this specific case, goal number 12 on sustainable consumption and production patterns. And why is this relevant, you may ask? The place in which the creative activities are set, its natural features, its cultures and history, its stories and imaginaries shape the meaning of the sense of place through local culture and the activities around it. CREATOUR's analysis of creative tourism experiences identified 4 ways in which participants can connect to place: through the site and materials, through the activity, through storytelling, and through socializing. When this happens, participants get to ask questions on different aspects of the activities, and ideally the organizer or artisan should be prepared for this. Therefore, this study draws attention to the recognition of these resources as important dimensions to be included in the storytelling of creative tourism experiences. As visitors are interested in seeing how craft products are made, and they do get involved with the production processes by either seeing craft producers at work or by learning a particular production technique. Therefore, it's necessary to provide them with adequate information on the natural resources used. Regarding the methods, this is a qualitative research through an exploratory study conducted through participant observation and unstructured interviewing of 2 pilot project mentors, who also provided institutional documents on the plants, feeding the desk research. Following this, a comparative study was made. The first case study used was Casa da Empreita, mentored by Lolé Criativo, and the second case study was A Lançadeira, mentored by the municipality of Esposende. A script with 9 open-ended survey questions was sent out via email, and the responses were given by the mentors of each pilot project. The questions included the plant's information, drying and production processes, possible impacts for the plants due to climate change and river pollution, and what creative tourism brings into this process. The results show that the dwarf palm is considered one of the identifying elements of the Algarve's material culture, and the reed is a manifestation of Esposende municipality's intangible cultural heritage, creating a relationship with the community and the environment. According to the respondents of Lolé Criativo, Casa da Empreita usually buys already dried and treated palm, which is imported from Spain, as it's rinsed and bleached, and all the manual treatment that remains to do to the palm is to cut the eye, separate the leaves and rip them in order to obtain leaves of approximate sizes. In the second case study, the respondent from the municipality of Esposende informed that the collection of saltwater reeds is done by the artisans in the appropriate time, following the tides and the processes of drying, sulfurizing and dyeing, and the manufacture of objects respect the natural characteristics proper to the reeds. Both respondents reported that the plants have not been regularly pruned and harvested, and this is mainly due to the abandonment of the agrarian communities that no longer use these vegetable fibers as a bed for cattle, and the production of domestic handicrafts as often as 50 years ago. The fields are now mainly used for intensive agriculture, construction, as well as industrial production, leading to discharges of wastes and polluting agents in the water and on land. Last but not least, both cases inform that creative tourism activities encourage the weeds pruning, harvesting, and its use revitalizes the plants. The main limitation of this study was the reliability of the data, meaning that no field work was carried out by me. This study is mainly based on pre-existing general data for educational and tourism marketing purposes of the natural fibers, and the survey answers provided by the two respondents of the two municipalities to gather knowledge on the consumption and production patterns of these native plants. This exploratory research revealed that there is little information on the consumption and production patterns and supply chains of indigenous plants used by creative tourism pilot projects of CREATOUR in Portugal. Thorough studies and a holistic approach are needed to understand this cycle and the complexity behind the entire value chain. It is therefore necessary to recognize the pivotal role of the indigenous plants in cultures of each region and better organize this knowledge to build up a more realistic and verifiable storytelling of what is being made, from the cultivation and treatment of the material to the technique leading to the work of art. And this includes educating visitors on sustainable consumption and lifestyles, providing them with adequate information through standards and labels, and this is a specific aim of Goal 12. The creation of such policies could encourage a more sustainable consumption and production, not only because the plants are a natural capital and a geographical feature of each region, that establish a meaningful link to the place and the local culture, but also because creative tourists engage more actively with the intangible cultural resources of a destination. Hence, there is a need to encourage creative tourism providers to reflect on their practices when using and advertising native plants for their activities, or at least clarify in the storytelling of their experience that local making does not always mean local sourcing, and this is to safeguard the integrity of the cultural heritage. As a side comment, I would like to conclude the presentation to add that further studies could also untap potential and open up to new possibilities, a more focused training and hands-on guidance on natural resources used by the artisans towards a more responsible and transparent production in the context of creative tourism could even contribute to the crafts products valorization and higher incomes for grassroots producers, as first intended along the development of the creative tourism concept and on the production and consumption of experiences. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.